Okay, I thought I'd show you how I do things. So whenever I start a project, I always draw out a plan. Um, this is my plan for the awning I'm going to do on my shed. So, what we have here is we have the shed, right? And we have the roof of the shed that it comes down. And I'm going to have the shingles overlap slightly the metal sheeting. So what we have here is we have the metal sheeting that's going to go on top, right? So this right here, this section right here, is approximately 16 foot, okay, on the drawing. But in reality, it's only about 8 foot. But the way I'm going to hang the panels, because the panels are 8 foot long, and it's going to take, we pulled 15 panels off, right? So one metal sheet panel will cover this entire section, okay? So it's 8 foot this way and 16 foot this way. Okay, so I hope that makes sense, right? So the panels are going to be laid out like this, right? They're straight up and down, right? But it's going to take 15 of the panels, okay? So you see here, I've got it is 16 foot wide and 8 foot long, right? So, what I'm going to do for the roof, because obviously the roof had an issue before. It had an issue with the angle, and it had an issue with no joist in between the 2x4s and nothing on top of the 2x4s to give added structure to the metal sheeting. So I'm going to take you outside now, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to solve that issue. And yes, I overbuild when I build things. Okay? But let me make sure the alarm is off. When I build something, I tend to overbuild. It is because when I build something, I want it to last. I don't want it to break down in a year or two, right? So, what I'm going to do, and I guess I can explain this better here, right? So these posts, I'm going to pull all these posts out. This is going to take a little bit of time because we've got to dig down 2 feet to pull these posts out, right? And I've got pressure treated posts to go. So instead of only having 3 posts, like what's here right now, I'm going to have 4. So that means I'm going to put a post about right there and one about right there. So they're going to be about 4 foot apart. So we're going to have, instead of only 3 rafters going across, I'm probably going to put 4 to 6. And we're going to connect them to these rafters here, right? Now, I've got a tool that I bought that's going to tell me exactly how big of a notch I need to make. And we're going to have to notch it and then kind of turn it, right, to fit. So this little bit of an overlap that you see here, we're going to overlap. We're going to put the metal sheeting almost directly under that top panel there. And we're going to take it down. It's going to come down at a 10% grade. Okay. The reason I chose 10% is because on the chicken coop, I only put about a 2% grade, and I've noticed, you can see it right here, I've noticed that right there, in that area right there where the panels meet, I have to clean that, because the tree here will drop leaves and it'll sit right there. So we want to avoid that, right? So we're going to take probably every second rafter here, we're going to take a 2x4 and run it off of here and run it down. And we've got this 16-foot 2x4, which is going to go across the post, right? And I know you can't see this because like I don't have it, but I'm going to take something that they call OSB, right? And this is OSB, and it's a 1/2 inch thick, and I'm going to put that under the metal panels, just like it looks just like plywood. And this is what I got yesterday. I still got to pick up 2 more sheets. Now the first thing you're going to see here is subfloor, because I've got to fix the hole in the shed floor. But I've got these 2 sheets here of OSB, right? And they're 1/2 inch. And they're going to go under the rafter panels, okay? They're going to go under the metal panels. Now, that subfloor, and we'll take you in here and we'll show you my clusterfuck of a shed, right? And we're doing all this in between everything else that we've got going on, right? We've got to take the truck in today. It's got to be serviced, so the truck has got to go in for servicing today. Yeah, I got a mess, right? My shed is a mess, but here's all the metal sheeting. So I'm going to take this felt. This felt is going to go on top of the OSB, just like you would do the roof here. Do you see how the roof is? Okay, this is all OSB. Okay, this is what they use in roof, right? They use OSB. And the rafters coming off, you can see the rafters coming off, right? We've got to stick a 2x4 against the rafters to strengthen them, right? But David was here, and David unfortunately got up on the ladder to see what he had. And I'm not sure if you can see it, but there's a hole in the floor, right? There's a big hole in the floor. It's about the size of my foot, right? And I'm sorry I don't have any light here in the shed. That's like an issue. But what I've got going on over here is everything has been moved out of this corner, because I gotta cut this out and put new subfloor there, and I'm not sure if I'm going to have to replace the joist. But these are the 4x4s that I'm going to use outside, and these are all pressure treated, right? So all of this is stuff that I use at work, right? So we've got the ropes, we got the straps. You know, I've got my greenhouse toppers for my greenhouses. I've got in these here. I've got the Howes antifreeze that you put in your tanks, right? Anti-gel. And then I've got all my gardening stuff, right? So it's all come out of this corner. It's all just thrown there. And of course, because I haven't had the time to get in here and organize anything, it's a cluster, right? You can tell I do bow hunting though. It is a cluster. It's a cluster in my shed, right? So that's why we're working on the shed, is because what I want to do is once we get the shed tight and fixed, I'm going to take this shelving unit and I'm going to extend that all the way, right? You already see where I've started putting the wall up, right? I'm going to extend that all the way, and it's going to have a shelving unit there and a shelving unit coming down this way. And then all this extra wood is going to go up there in the loft. So I do have a plan. This is my summer project. This is not going to happen overnight, right? One step at a time, right? A little bit at a time. And the only reason I'm not out here this morning doing it is because I've got to, I've got to take the pickup in and get it serviced. You got to take care of your equipment, right? And since I don't know how to do it, I pay for it, right? Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with paying an expert to do what you need to get done. Now, my second project for the summer is going to be the foundation on the house. And they've got to come, they're coming next weekend. They're going to be crawling underneath here. And trust me when I say it's a mess, right? So that's probably going to be about $50,000 to fix that. So that's my plan. Now, I'm just wondering if you guys think that this is a valid plan, because he's coming out tomorrow to pull all these old shingles off and put all new shingles on top of the roof. Most of the roof is fine. We did have that one issue where we had to cut a section out of the middle of the roof where it used to have a wood stove in it, and the people that I bought the place from took the wood stove with them. So we had to address that last weekend. This is not something that is going to be done in a weekend, right? We'll get a lot done tomorrow, because today I'm full today, right? I've got to take the pickup in. I've got to go. The chickens need oyster shells, and you can see where the food that I've been giving them, they really don't like it. They've been throwing it all on the ground. So we're going to try a different type of feed. I do this with my chickens, I change their feed off and on, just to give them variety. But they are out of scratch, right? Which is, it's like rock that they have to have so they can digest their food. And they're out of oyster shells, which they need for their eggs, right? To strengthen them for the eggs. I mean, you just don't feed chickens corn, right? They've got to have certain protein. They've got to have certain types of vegetables, yada yada yada, right? So, I'm really curious. Maybe some of y'all out there can tell me whether or not my plan is valid, because I've never done this. So I'm planning on putting joists in between the rafters I've planned for 15 joists. I hope that's enough, right? And I'm going to be using something called a joist hanger, right? Because most of this I'm going to be doing on my own. So I went, and I got some foam to seal up the bottom of the shed because I noticed that that's where the rats are getting in, right? Trigger warning, knife coming out so I can cut this box open. So if you don't want to see that, look elsewhere. So, that's fun doing that one-handed. This is a joist hanger. And basically it hangs on the 2x4 and you screw it in on the 2x4, right? And then you hang your 2x4 in there and it just gives added stability for the joist. And so I've got 30 of these, right? Because there's one on either end, right, of your joist to hold it in place. It's not required by building code. Like I said, when I do something, I tend to overbuild. But what are your opinions? I really want to know, because trust me when I tell you that those OSB boards, they're heavier than plywood, right? They weigh about 45 to 50 pounds, and they're very awkward to move. Okay, and it took me yesterday. It took me quite a few minutes to move those from the bed of the pickup truck to the yard. So I know that I can only move like one or two at a time, and I'm figuring I'm going to need 4 of those. So what are your opinions? I mean, do you think that I've got a good plan in mind, or do you think that I'm being stupid? Because I've already been called a stubborn bee and stupid because I want to overhang the shingles onto and above the metal sheeting along that edge of the shed. And I want to run the panels with the grooves this way instead of this way. And everything that I've read, you want it like this so that the grooves are running down so the water will run down. I mean, that to me makes common sense, but maybe I'm thinking wrong. If you have a better idea, I would like to know, because the awning, we're planning on a group of people coming out here. I think it's June 15th. I might be wrong. To finish the awning, to just do the awning. So this weekend is going to be the shed. Get the shed fixed. Get the hole cut out of the floor. Get the new subfloor. Yes, it's subfloor. That's what it's called. It's called subfloor. Put that into the floor where that hole is. And I'm sorry I didn't have a light to show you better. So that whole section has got to be cut out and a new piece put there. And I might have to run a 2x4 underneath either end of that new piece coming in just to give it added stability. We'll know once we cut it out, right? But that's my plan. Like I said, I tend to draw everything up before I do something, right? I don't know if I'm just overly design person or if I'm overthinking it, but I would love to have your opinion. And I think that putting the OSB under the metal sheeting will give it added strength so that what happened before where it all built up with all the leaves and dirt and stuff and I couldn't reach it with a rake, I think that will prevent that from happening. Your opinion is I'm open to suggestions at this point. I've never done this. I'm sure a lot of people have never done this, but just to do the awning, just in materials so far, I've spent about $1,600 just to buy the wood that I have right now, and I've got to wait another week before I can buy the other 2 OSB boards I need, right? Just because I'm going on a budget and I'm paying cash for everything. So, yes, I make good money, but I'm not forgetting the fact that a lot of my money is going onto my credit cards to pay them down. So, this is being done basically. I'm taking money out of my prep fund and out of my food fund because I have food here that needs to be ate up, so I don't need to buy food. I've got to eat up some of the food that I have now. They're due to be either eaten or thrown away. So I've got to eat up that food. So I'm using this couple of weeks of using that food up, and that way it doesn't go to waste. And then the money that I would have spent to actually buy food for the week is going into this project. Okay, so this is and then next Saturday I have the foundation people coming out. And if you're wondering why I have to have foundation people come out, I have a couple doors in my house that have cracks running up towards the ceiling, and 3 doors I cannot close. So one side of the house is sinking faster than the other side. And I'm assuming that when they do this, they're going to have to level the house. I'm going to have them do something they call encapsulate underneath, right, in my crawl space. So all of that old insulation is probably going to have to go. Some of it is probably still good. I don't know. But normally when they do that, they like to replace all the insulation, which is why I'm estimating around $50,000. So, yeah, that's what we've got going on here. Your thoughts, your comments are very much appreciated. Like I said, I don't know if I'm doing right or if I'm thinking right, but that's my plan right now. Bicycle!